Good evening, friends, once again, and welcome to Sunday Satsang. Let's have the reading first for the week 16. To each according to his faith. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Ananda. In the Gospel of St. John, chapter 3, we read, Everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. But he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in God. It is a common experience shared by most people that when a person errs, he experiences a desire to hide that error from his conscience instead of holding it up for purification. Error clutches its misdeeds to itself and resists correction, though it is only in the state of purity that we can achieve perfect freedom. It requires an act of will to offer that awareness up to the light and to hold it there until one's inner darkness is completely dissipated. For every state of consciousness has its own attractive power, and the more we allow that attraction to act upon us, the more we attract to ourselves the objective circumstances and experiences natural to it. Our faith is the attractive power of our underlying state of consciousness. Goodness attracts goodness. It takes goodness even to see goodness. Evil attracts evil, and it takes evil even to see evil, that is, to take special note of its existence. Whatever there is in you of darkness or light, offer it up to the heights. In the supreme light alone, we will find salvation. Accept nothing less in yourself as your lasting reality. As the Bhagavad Gita says in the 12th chapter, Cling thou to me, clasp me with heart and mind, so shalt thou dwell surely with me on high. But if thy thought droops from such height, if thou beest weak to set body and soul upon me constantly, despair not, give me lower service. Seek to reach me, worshipping with steadfast will. And if thou cannot worship steadfastly, work for me, toil in works pleasing to me. For he that laboureth right for love of me shall finally attain. But if in this thy faint heart fails, bring me thy failure. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Let's feel in silence the words that we have just listened to. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, as I was going through this reading, I was trying to find out some keywords or key phrases around which we can have a talk for this evening. The one which struck me here was that our faith is the attractive power of our underlying state of consciousness, which is actually very interesting because often we sometimes struggle and we try to struggle in life with the circumstances, events, happenings, and we try to see why is it that I am a victim or why is it that it is happening to me, and so many things. But we often, more often than not, we hardly question our faith or what is it that my faith is or where is my thought, because faith will attract, as Swami is saying here, that faith attracts the corresponding consciousness. Faith is the attractive power of our underlying state of consciousness. A very interesting event happened in Swami's early discipleship, and he was saying that there was a time when he just started feeling low in the mood and nothing was working, and the more he was trying hard to settle down, the more he was struggling with his thoughts, the more he found himself going into that whirlpool. And it was like he just started to rationalize his thoughts, and as if his mind was telling him that this world is not a good place and nobody loves you, and this it's not a right place to live, and And the more he struggled, he found that he was not able to come out of it. And suddenly he thought that, oh, this is not helping me. The more I'm struggling with the thoughts, the more it is taking me down. So let me just change my consciousness, change my energy. And he just meditated for a while. He forgot for a moment all the thoughts, concentrated deeply at the point between the eyebrows. And he said, it just took me 5 minutes. And he came out of that whirlpool which was pulling him down. And after that, the same world, for right shortly before, it was appearing like not a good place to stay in, and suddenly it started appearing good, as if people are not that good, they are okay and you can accept them. And so he said, this is how I experienced that, how the consciousness can actually change the thoughts, which is actually what Swami is saying, that our faith has the attractive power. I recently also saw another video on the YouTube where this man this is actually a true event, and this thing happened. Those who are from India, they must be able to, they might recall that there was this serial which used to come in Doordarshan, Ramayan serial, and it was directed by Ramanand Sagar, who was the director of this whole series. And Ramanand Sagar, he was in this video, I don't know how far these facts are, but this person was stating that it was Babaji who actually gave him the direction to enact this play and to bring out, to come up with Ramayan. And it was a blessing that from the higher world, that this should be enacted. And this is how it came. It came and it became a success. But right before, when this whole thing was to be shot, there was a sequence, there was a particular footage that they wanted for the Kak Bhushundi. Kak Bhushundi, as we know, is a very revered crow, and it's actually a saint, but we'll not go into that story. Kak in Sanskrit means crow, so it's a sage who was given a curse and it became a crow, and he got immortalized as a crow. And this crow is Kak Bhushundi, who it was his name, and it just watched the Ramayana unfold, the way all the sequences happened. And it is said that since his coming, and since he came into life, he has seen Ramayana happening 11 times and Mahabharata happening 16 times in the kalpas, as God is bringing this machinery out into the world, manifesting the world, and from the unmanifest to the manifested world. So all these sequences, as we know, the sages and the higher souls, they take avatars and they keep coming. So it is said that Ramayana keeps happening in different form or the other, or Mahabharata also keeps happening in different form or the other. So this Kak Bhushundi is like that kind of character in the Ramcharitmanas, which was written by Tulsidas. Now, because this Ramayana was based on Tulsidas' Ramcharitmanas, and Ramanand Sagar had to begin with this story where Kak Bhushundi is actually telling the whole story to Garud. Garud is the king of the birds. And so now this Ramanand Sagar, who was a director, although he knew all the tricks of the trade, but he said, how can I have a crow crow is a very restless bird, often we know, it doesn't sit even for a short while. It's very difficult to, first of all, get a crow, and the second difficulty was to get it in front of the child who was actually playing the character of Lord Ram as a young child. And because crow cannot sit for that long, and but this was the problem which was at hand at that time. But very interestingly, but he had this faith in his heart, how the faith can manifest things. Before this whole thing was having, they just saw that a crow came right on the tree where they were having this conversation, that how we can have the crow footage or the crow scene. And it just came from nowhere. The crow was there perched on the branch of that tree. And immediately Ramanand Sagar had this thought that this is not something usual. This is something divine which is happening. It just cannot happen like that. It is not a coincidence. And so he prayed at that time, and he said that he went to that he just stood behind under the branch of that tree, and he said, "Sir, is it possible that you could sit right in front of the child where I can take and shoot this scene for few minutes so that, otherwise there is no way that I can bring this scene in Ramayana. And this man said that it happened. The crow somehow went right in front of the child, and it sat there for almost 10 to 11 minutes, which is unusual from any scientific angle. A crow sitting there at one place and the child was playing. It is said that, and that footage is there on YouTube. Many of you can go and watch it, that how this scene was taken. And later on, it never happened. The crow never came in the whole Ramayana series. But the point I wanted to make here was that faith attracts whatever is there. If that power is there, Ramanand Sagar was given this whole you can say, the commandment, or by the divine power to do it, and he had the faith to be an instrument, and with that faith Lord manifested things which was needed over there at that time, which was the need. Now it also somehow makes me understand that we are actually living in a very magical world. If you see why, it's like consciousness, first of all, the whole universe is nothing but it has come from consciousness, and we are a part of that. And at the same time, our job is to tune in to that consciousness, and then anything can happen. Actually, it's like, just like in a dream. Now, Yogananda often used to give this example that when you dream, what happens? In a dream, you see people, you see friends, you see food also. You are sometimes eating food in a dream, and you see mountains, rivers, everything, sky, and you are walking, sometimes playing, or whatever is happening in the dream, and it all looks so real during the dream. But when you come out, when you wake up, you understand, oh, it was a dream. But from where it came? It has come from our own mind. It has come from our own consciousness. So all that which was looking solid in the dream, whether it was our friends, whether it was a mountain, whether it was the food, whether it was even our thoughts in the dream, because in the dream also we are thinking, or we are, understanding people, we have feelings. So all that is coming from our own consciousness, that we create a own world in which we are there in a dream. And Yogananda said this is exactly what is happening in the waking world also. Now, in the waking world also, there is no demarcation. The spirit has manifested the matter. It's only a difference of vibration, and difference of vibration is creating the difference between consciousness, thoughts, feelings, and as we come down, it becomes more gross matter like air or fire or space or earth or water, and then finally the gross matter which we see. He says that consciousness, and this is because it is the Maya, it is the consciousness of the Lord which has created everything. So it is quite possible, he said, if in your dream things can happen in your mind, why it is not possible, he says, in the divine power in the Lord's mind, which is much more powerful and omnipotent than our own minds, that he cannot create with his own Maya this whole world, which is nothing but a dream. And that is what exactly he says, that here lies the beauty, that what is the point, what should we be doing? If our job is to tune in to the dreamer's consciousness, the more we tune in to the dreamer's consciousness, you will see that this dream starts changing according to your feelings, according to your sometimes wishes. Because since you become one with the dreamer's consciousness, the dream can change anytime. It's not going to enact, or it's not going to happen if you want to harm somebody, or if you want to unnecessarily create trouble for others. But if you are one with the divine consciousness, which all these yogis and masters were already one, then it, as Yogananda was saying, that I don't know where Yogananda begins, or where he said that I killed Yogananda long ago, and now nobody dwells in this body but God, which is to say that there is no other reality living in that bodily reality but God, and he has become one with that consciousness. Now same is what we are trying to understand here, that if we tune in to the consciousness, then slowly you will see that many times you must have experienced this thing, that in a very uh, calm state of mind, you may have an intuitive perception that probably this is going to happen, or this may happen, or this is sometimes, what if things can happen in this way, and sometimes they do happen that way. Now maybe in during those times we are aligned with or attuned with the dreamer's consciousness, and sometimes we do have those intuitive insights, and if our noble desires are there, which are nothing but God's desire, if we become one with those, then certainly things can happen in this world too. The other point which comes here in this phrase is that how can we do that? Now if we see, most of the time the challenge is that how can I stay in that consciousness? How can I first of all reach that consciousness? How can I tune in, and how can I stay in that consciousness? That is the only challenge which is at our hand. The first one here, Swami says that it requires an act of will. So first of all, it is not going to happen passively. It's not like wishing that, okay, I wish I could become one with dreamer's consciousness. Mere wishing is not going to give us that. It requires an act of will to offer that awareness up to the light and to hold it there until one's inner darkness is completely dissipated. And then he says, in the supreme light alone, we will find salvation, and accept nothing less in yourself as your lasting reality. Now, this is very important. Accept nothing less in yourself. Because we often accept much less than that, and that is the trouble. So, one good point in our day-to-day life would be to just quickly take a snapshot of the mind and just see what is uppermost in my mind. What is the uppermost thought in my mind? Because whatever is the uppermost thought in your mind, that is your faith. That is where you belong. That is what you are thinking. And that is what is manifesting around you. Isn't what Swami is saying here? That whatever is your thought, that is what gets created. For every state of consciousness has its own attractive power. And the more we allow that attraction to act upon us, the more we attract to ourselves the objective circumstances and experiences natural to it. It's a very powerful thing. I don't know whether how the modern scientists will see to it, but yes, they are trying to now, up till now, even in medical science, the common understanding is that consciousness is produced by the brain. Now, how it is produced, nobody has an answer. Even in medical science, they say somehow these neuronal networks which are creating a lot of connections between themselves, and they are, there is a lot of information which is getting passed between the one neuron to the another. There are billions of neurons, and there is how the chemical processes are happening. But how a chemical process or a chemical metabolism can lead to consciousness? They have no answer for this. They are still saying that we will find it out, but when, nobody knows. Up till now, they don't have an answer. And that is why, if you see, even in the modern science, there is a phrase called hard problem of consciousness, which is to say, nobody has an answer. Because you and I are feeling consciousness all the time, every time, but and nobody has a doubt about it. Everybody knows that he exists. Do you need a proof of any existence? Nobody needs any proof. Everybody knows that yes, I exist. But how am I getting this subjective experience? Textbook has no answer for that. So, how but Vedanta had an answer. Vedic teaching has an answer. This is to say that when you tell yourself that, okay, I have a body. Many of us have come to that point when we do not identify with the body. We don't say, I am this, but you say, okay, this is my body. So that means you have already understood that you are not the body. And same way, you understand that, okay, thoughts are there. I understand that thoughts are playing on in my mind. Feelings are playing on in my mind, but I am not my thoughts too. I am not my feelings too. I am something different. So that is how you separate yourself. But what is this I which is giving me this subjective feeling of I-ness, as we were chanting, that mind nor intellect nor ego feeling, I am he. So what is that I? Suddenly you understand that, okay, I am not the body, I am not the thought, I am not the feelings, but this I is awareness. And certainly this awareness is not created by I. Can you say, or can I say that this awareness I have created? Certainly not. This awareness is not coming from I, rather I is an expression of awareness. Isn't it so? Awareness is already there, but the I is a part of that. I is getting expressed. That's why Yogananda said that soul is nothing but an individualized expression of the spirit. So this I is nothing but an individual expression of the spirit, which is to say that awareness, ocean of awareness is there, and this I is like a small ripple on the surface. So this awareness is there. So that means awareness is eternal. Awareness is already there. It has already been there. And that is why it has no beginning, no end. That is why we say consciousness. When we define consciousness, it is considered as eternal. It has no beginning, no end. You cannot, nothing can taint it. Nothing can get attached to it. Everything is superimposed on it. But yes, that is why Yogananda said that consciousness is the fundamental reality and everything else is just the vibrational difference. Everything has come from it as a difference in the vibration. So the moment I understand that this I is nothing but a small ripple on the ocean of awareness, you understand that I have to just now hold on to this reality. How can I hold on to that reality? Because when the thoughts are there, when the thoughts are coming in our mind, if let us say the thought is of gross nature, naturally the gross manifestation will be happening. But if it is a thought of, that is why Yogananda said, okay, there are 8 manifestations of God, which is to say there are 8 manifestations of consciousness. But if I am holding on to one of those manifestations of consciousness, you will see that you will be in a different world. The world which is nothing but it is made up of consciousness, it will have a different meaning for you, because the consciousness, the world is also conscious, you are also conscious, and since you are holding on to a consciousness which is higher, the world around you will appear different. So this is a very important exercise, that in a flash, just stop for a moment and understand what is uppermost in my mind. Whatever is uppermost, and isn't in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said that maybe this is the moment I have to leave the world. I mean, who knows when do we have to leave the world? If this is the moment I have to leave the world, whatever is uppermost in my mind will actually be the seed for the next incarnation. So if I am already attached to something gross or something which is not very high, naturally my chances are that I will have to get into another struggle to come out of it. So it's very important, because life is unpredictable. Anything can happen anytime. So it's very important. In fact, one of the other keys which I feel can help us to hold on to this eternal reality, because consciousness is something which is eternal, and we understand that because you know that I am the same person, but I have seen my body changing from childhood to adulthood and to middle age. But I am the same person, but body kept changing. Similarly, I am the same person who saw my mind changing. I am not getting the same thoughts of chocolates and toys which I used to get when I was a child. So that means my mind has also changed. And if my mind is changing, that means I am not the mind, but I am something which is witnessing those changes. So if you see, if we hold on to that eternal reality, one is that, okay, let us be very clear, okay, one of the, whatever is uppermost in my mind, I will hold on to that. And whenever the thought, whatever is the thought which is uppermost is going to create the similar events or the similar circumstances. There's a very important sutra which comes in Ramcharitmanas, where Tulsidas is writing that Ishwar Ansh Jeev Avinashi. And then he says, Ishwar Ansh Jeev Avinashi, Chetan Amal Sahaj Sukh Rashi. Which is in Hindi, if we translate that in English, it is said that the human birth, when we come, the human being is actually a part of God, Ishwar Ansha, and it is indestructible. As a soul, it's a part of God, it is indestructible. Avinashi means indestructible. And then it is Chetan, Amal. Chetan is conscious. What are the attributes of this humanity? That it is conscious, it is Amal, it is pure, untainted. And then Sahaj Sukh Rashi, it is simple and also blissful and happy. Happiness is its essence. Which is to say that if we remain in our true essence, then I don't think the world is going to create any trouble for us. The problem is that we are not holding. That is why when we were singing this chant, then the life is sweet and death a dream when thy song flows through me. Similarly, health is sweet, but sickness a dream when thy song flows through me. Or similarly, praise is sweet and blame is dream when thy song flows through me. So the understanding, it is because we are living in a conscious world, and it's all very magical. In fact, it is like God has given us so much power as a part of consciousness that we don't understand it. It is actually literally, it can be like killing ourselves. We have no idea that it can be like, there can be a lot of self damage which we are doing. In fact, one saint really put it this way, that if you are not in your Atma, that is like an Atma Hatya only, which is because if you're not living in your Atman, you are actually killing your soul, because you are attaching yourself to something which is not eternal. One of the other, in fact, key here is that, which can be helpful in our day-to-day life, is that always live in the temporality of the world. Everything is temporary. Somehow when we wake up in the morning, we see the same people around and we see the same house, and it just gives us a feeling of permanency. But it is not permanent. It would be a good exercise to wake up every day and get this idea, this is not permanent, this is temporary. Just like, we go to a hotel and stay there for, let us say, 3 days. We never have this feeling that this hotel belongs to me. But when we live in the house, we get this feeling of permanence. Oh, this belongs to me. And these are my people. She's my wife, or he's my husband. They are my children. But they don't belong to us. That is why Ladi Mahasaya was saying, no one belongs to you, you belong to none. Because if we will not live in the temporality of the world, then we will not value what is permanent and what is eternal. Because we are making this whole world permanent and seeing it as a permanent reality, we hardly are paying attention to what is permanent. So the good exercise would be to wake up in the morning and see that, okay, these are people, those who have come with me, they are all good friends to me, and I have to do my best to look after them, but they do not belong to me. We are souls, those who have come under one roof because we have some mutual karma, but this is all temporary. Similarly, just look at this place. I mean, in last 8 years, I think we have changed 4 places, but it looks, and maybe we are looking for a 5th one, but the thing is that nothing is permanent. Although in the moment it may look, oh, this is how it is. But it is not. Since 2015, if you see, we were at Row House and Ashok Nagar, Ashok Sankul, and then some time back we were also in the COVID times, we were in the office. So you see, things are changing. Things are always changing. We are not, even in my own personal life, I can see that I have changed 4 jobs in last 8 years. So even the jobs are not permanent. People are not permanent. Things are not permanent. And if we make this point, if we just kind of drill into our mind that I am living in a temporary world. This is all temporary. One day I will have to leave it. One day I will have to, or people will leave me, or I will leave people. It can happen anytime. So places, people, possessions when we just try to detach ourselves with all that impermanence, then suddenly you will try to hold on to what is permanent. So because we give attention to what is temporary and make it permanent, that is why we are not holding on to the eternal reality. So the summarization of the whole talk would be that, okay, just check whatever is uppermost in your mind, because whatever is uppermost is going to create the life scenario for you, because your faith is attracting. If you are in a difficult situation, don't fight with the situation, but actually see what is going on in your mind or heart, because that is what is getting reflected outwards. And second point is that just if you can hold on to that eternal reality, it would be a good idea to live in the temporality of the world, that this is temporary. And then keep praying in your heart, as Krishna is here saying. Just look at those words. Cling thou to me. Cling, he says. Clinging is like, when you desperately need someone. Cling thou. Clasp me with heart and mind. Clasping. This is how he says. Cling to me. Clasp me with heart and mind. And worship me with steadfast will. Constantly. Those are the words. At one time he uses the word unceasingly. Constantly. With steadfast will. And then he gives, okay, if you can't do this, then work for me. Just, give me your failure. So he keeps giving all the options. But isn't this amazing? That how can we cling to him if we are clinging to the world? We can only cling to him and clasp him when we see this world is anyways like a sand flowing out of my hand. It's not going to stay. Just a matter of time. So let me hold on to something which is eternal. And when that is what is going to be uppermost in my mind, you will see your life, as we were singing, then death or sickness or blame will not matter to you. It will be just like a dream. You will be floating in the God's consciousness. That will itself, and even in the magical world, you will see things happening. And rather, you will become part of the divine consciousness. And you won't even realize that your desires and wishes, which are noble wishes, which are not different from God's wishes, will start happening and start manifesting. So let us conclude here, and we'll pray that Divine Mother helps us in staying in that realm of consciousness where light is flowing.